All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started here. We probably will have some others rolling in here soon, but we'll go ahead and start. So hi, everyone. Welcome to our session today, our campus spotlight featuring the USC Mann School of Pharmacy. This session's on tracking the co-curricular experience. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Catherine, and I'm a campus success consultant here at Ready Education, and specifically, I support the campus group's product. I do have a few housekeeping items for you all before we get started. So please remember that you can access our schedule today via the RDV Event Hub. We are also recording this session as well as all of our other sessions, and we will notify you when those recordings are available so you can access those and revisit all the great content that you hear. Your lines are currently muted to help with the background noise, but please feel free to use the chat to ask any questions that you have. And of course, we will set aside some time at the end to address those questions. We also do have some team members here in the call who will be able to answer some questions in the chat as well. We encourage you to keep the conversation going today and beyond via our RDV event feed and on social media using our hashtag that you see here. But with that being said, I'm happy to kick off our presentation today and introduce our awesome presenter, Stella. She serves as the Academic Program Administrator for PharmD co-curricular programs at the USC Mann School of Pharmacy. In her role, she oversees co-curriculum course requirements, tracking, and assessment. And I've had the pleasure of working with Stella over the past year as she brought these really important and engaging programs into the Campus Groups platform. And I'm just so happy that she's here today to showcase her awesome work. So with that being said, I'm going to hand it over to Stella to get started. Take it away.
Thank you, Catherine, and thank you, Campus Groups, for having me. So again, my name is Stella. I'm the Academic Program Administrator for PharmD co-curricular programs at USC Mann School of Pharmacy and Pharmaceutical Sciences. I am currently an EDD candidate, so I will be starting that program in the fall semester, and I'm also a USC alum. I got my master's in USC Rossier School of Education. And I'm also a dog mom. So for any of you who are dog parents here, I have a little pit named Lucy. So she is my kind of like a site therapy dog throughout this entire process of creating the Engage SC, or we call it Engage SC, but the Campus Groups platform for our school. So throughout this session, we will discuss the different strategies to successfully introduce students to the new platform while maintaining the autonomy over their co-curricular experience. And that's really important for students. And then creating a culture of assessment for the co-curricular experience, and the use of tracks and checklists to manage and communicate school requirements while actively using data to inform program changes in real time. We have been using all three strategies throughout the year, and these are the things that we will discuss more throughout the presentation. So a little bit about our schools. So USC Mann School of Pharmacy and Pharmaceutical Sciences was actually founded in 1905. We are the number one private school and a private pharmacy school in the country. We are located in Los Angeles, California. We have 97% PharmD licensure pass rate. We offer 20 different degree programs of study. We have 19 student organizations and 9 affinity groups in the PharmD program alone. And the co-curriculum really is highlighted through the 19 student organizations and 9 affinity groups. So how we got started and why we got started with Campus Groups, just a little bit of background information. Co-curriculum is an accreditation requirement for pharmacy schools. And there are 2 areas in co-curriculum, which is approach to practice, and the other one is personal and professional development. So it is important for us as a school to track our students' problem-solving skills, educate the ways in which that they're able to educate others, patient advocacy. I've listed all 9 different areas in there. So professionalism, leadership, innovation and entrepreneurship, cultural sensitivity, interprofessional collaboration. These are things that we are looking to track to see how our students are doing in these specific areas and their growth in those areas. And we also needed a platform that would help us be a moldable and buildable platform. And that was that was kind of the reason why we started with the Campus Groups platform, which at USC we call it Engage SC. So if I refer to the platform as Engage SC, I'm really referring to this. But being a school, we have to make everything our own and special for USC. So we call it an Engage SC platform, and we use the platform to track student engagement and their personal and professional development. So, so to get started, the way that we started as a school was we identified different stakeholders, and I identified different champions within the School of Pharmacy. So the first group that we really identified are the students, right? The students are the ones that lead the student experience, and the students are the central focus for any university. So we started with student organization leaders first. So these are the president-elect and presidents of the 19 student organizations. And we started this before the platform was introduced to any other student group. They were the first ones to get a demo of the platform to kind of to discuss how the platform would be used. Prior to this platform, we used a system of PDF files, and our students tried to promote their events through social media or their own personal group hubs within the school, but we needed a central place to promote everything. So we started with student leaders and engaging them in conversations about the platform and creating a culture of tracking. And that started from the first meeting. When we had the first meeting with students, I had registered everyone on the platform, and then everyone was able to use the platform to check into the event. That was their first kind of real tracking method. Another thing was transferring all of our student organization files onto a new platform. So that was extensive work, and that was done during the summer before it was introduced to the new cohort of students. And that allowed students to continuously go to the same place to find files or forms needed for their student organizations. And another add-on that we provided students was that we would be sharing the data that we receive about their activities with them. And that would inform their decision-making for the subsequent years. And the co-curricular transcript was also very important, and is very important to our students to highlight all the activities that they do. Oftentimes students at the fourth year by their graduation, they have to submit a resume, or they have to submit cover letters for jobs, and they may not remember all of the activities that they participated in. And so this was really important for us to give them that platform that would highlight that for them. And the other part, really essential part, was engaging the staff and faculty in the discussions to have a platform to track all of our activities. And we presented the platform to various groups. So we presented at our curriculum meetings, at our faculty and staff council meetings, and then we identified areas that may find it very useful and beneficial for their everyday use to use the platforms, like student affairs, our DEI chair, and then again, going back to the importance of being able to track activities and to share data and to see trends in real time, and to be able to pivot as we see a need for us to do something different or to change things to engage our students more. So platform integration was, our big integration was at orientation, and this is something I actually would recommend. We started out in orientation as registering all of our students onto that platform. And just as you send an email prior to orientation, giving students parking information and just like highlights and agenda for the day, we informed all of our students that they would be checking in using this platform, and that they must have the app downloaded, or they must have logged into the platform ahead of time to set up their account, and etc. And this really helped us identify if there were any issues with just a student account or a student email address, etc. But it also enforced, and again, we set the standard that this is what we do at events. You register for events, you check into events. And that was a great way for us to see trends at orientation, even just at the very beginning and we identified some students that had email issues, et cetera, but we would not have identified them had we not used the system. It was very early for us, we identified that they had some issues, we had contacted IT, et cetera. And it was not an issue related to the campus groups. It was a larger issue, but it was great that we kind of were able to identify it very early on. And then we included the platform on all of our first week events, any events that we had for students. We asked them to register. This was presented at orientation. This was the culture that we set up for students, and we reinforced that throughout the year. We scheduled platform demo sessions, which are great ways of just having 20 students at a time in a Zoom room and just going through the campus groups platform, going through how to register for events, to check into events, any policies and procedures that you have set up for your specific school on how to handle matters. This is the place to kind of get smaller group and be able to engage with them. And then we provided training to faculty and staff, and this is ongoing, honestly, as faculty and staff learn more about the program, learn more about the platform, and learn ways or ask ways of how they can use the platform for their own everyday needs. We have provided these trainings to them, and that gets all of us as a school on a single page moving forward in the ways that we communicate with students. So this part, the tracks and checklists, I love. But it's very difficult for me to like get the entire thing on one screen, like the entire tracks and checklist. So the really great thing about this platform that we utilize was we have all of our students on a track of the co-curriculum requirement track, and we have 3 checklists. So we have our co-curriculum divided into 3 specific areas. So one being self-awareness, communication, collaboration, the second one being leadership and professional development, and the third is patient advocacy and community outreach. All of our activities are in those tracks and checklists. So all of the events that are listed on our platform are then specifically put into the specific areas of co-curriculum that would meet those co-curriculum requirements in those areas. So I know it's really tiny, but if you were to look at view events, it's a very right there. Thank you, Catherine. If a student were to click on view events on their tracks and checklists, they would actually be able to see all of the events that are specific for that area, and that would meet those co-curricular requirements. And we go through a process. You can set the rules the way you want to. So we go through the process of setting up that requirement, setting up the activities that they need to complete, and then a post-activity summary, which I'll talk about shortly. So one part of this screen will show you the tracks and checklists the way that they see them. And the second part is the administrative viewpoint of that track and checklist. This is very useful information because you, in a very simple glance, can look at the percentage of your students who are on track to completing that specific track or that specific requirement. So as you can see, we have a deadline of April 30th for our students to complete their co-curricular requirements. We can see that as of the date that I took the screenshot, 98.2% have completed the self-awareness, communication, collaboration requirement. And then you can see the numbers for the rest of that. So we can very quickly run reports on that. And we target it. So this also allows us to contact students because we know exactly which students are missing what areas, and we can specify. So instead of sending out a large email to students saying, make sure to complete your co-curricular requirements, I can very specifically send emails to the 4 students or the 3 students that I've identified that are missing one of the components. And it will lessen the amount of emails that the larger student body will receive, and it will be targeted towards the specific students with specific requirements to meet. And we use the platform again when we schedule those meetings, and I'll talk a little bit about that too. So assessment of our activities was really, really important to us. We wanted to know that the program works, not in an anecdotal way, but in a very specific way, that our students are meeting the needs and they're meeting the Trojan pharmacist outcomes as needed. So for our school, we have Trojan pharmacist outcomes for our pharmacy students. These are TPOs. And these are the program outcomes. So we have 8 different areas, and we wanted to and the co-curriculum really ties into the 8 different areas as well. The language is very similar. If you were to go back and look at it, we use very similar language for it. And we wanted to know for each activity, what are students developing the most and what are students developing the least. And as we learn about these, we will be able to pivot and to make program changes as needed to make sure that we have activities that are spread out evenly through all of the 8 areas. So assessing activities we do after every single co-curricular activity. So after a student, for us, we set up the rule as a student registers, they check in, and then at the end of the activity, those students who checked in receive a co-curricular post-activity summary, and it includes about 4 questions. And one of the main questions is what was developed the most and what was developed the least as a result of this specific co-curricular requirement. And it was also important for us to distinguish between co-curricular and extracurricular activities. So we have over 200 activities per year in the School of Pharmacy. We have about 100 activities that are co-curricular activities per year in the School of Pharmacy. So we created tags, and that identifies for our students, this is a co-curricular activity, this meets a requirement, whereas an extracurricular activity is just for students to complete. So a student may engage in an extracurricular activity like a social event, social gathering, a banquet event, or simply going to their student organization board meetings. Those are things that we consider as extracurricular activities. We have a very narrow definition of co-curricular activities, and we apply that we review every single activity and we tag them on the platform. And then we map the activities to the learning outcomes. So this is then shared with the student organizations at the end of each semester. So every student organization and their faculty advisor will receive, and again, we get this through Engage SC, we'll get a really nice PDF of for each activity, this is what students said they would develop the most. These are some comments given by students, constructive feedback given by students. So this will then help inform for the next year of how the activities can be changed. So students may say things like, we'd like to have the PowerPoint ahead of time, etc. So all of that is communicated back to the actual student organizations. And then we evaluate data in real time. So we look at, because of the platform, we were able to very early on identify that certain areas in co-curriculum, we don't have as many activities as other areas. Although we do have them, it's not comparable to maybe another area. And so we have then made we've kind of started the steps of having conversations to have more co-curricular activities in those specific areas. So we have then communicated with our partner schools within the School of USC to create those activities for our students. And this is, I think, for me, it was the most useful and information that I could get as a program administrator for a specific program to see if it's working or what we can move to or what we can improve. The assessment part was really, really important for us. So evaluating data and trends. And so we use, like I said, we use the data that is after every single assessment, after every single co-curricular activity. And then we use data that is actually in the tracks and checklists. So our students who are in specific areas of concentration have different co-curricular requirements. So we look at trends in those specific areas. And then we also can have our co-curriculum requirements by cohort. So class of 2026, class of 2025, to look at the different trends that we have going between each classes and the completion rate in each classes. Sending the feedback requests to students. This is also really important. We have the surveys open for 24 hours and they close after that 24-hour window of time. This allows us and the students to be to reflect on their activity and practice their self-awareness and reflection skills in real time in those 24 hours when the activity is fresh in their mind. And then we learn about the different gaps between registration and event check-ins. When we gathered data, we realized, in certain activities, when we have high registration, but in comparison, the check-ins are not as high as the registration rates. So we need to go back to our students to talk about professionalism of RSVPing to an event and actually being there and attending that event. So those are important conversations, and they're the smaller conversations that build on that personal and professional development that's needed. And using data to make program changes. I think I said this in the last slide as well, but to know what are the what are the time slots that students attend more activities in, and where are the time slots where it's less activities for students or less participation in. So we do have a 12-to-1 engagement hour built into our curriculum. This is the time that we have a lot of activities happening on campus, and so students can pick and choose from various activities. So we know that this is a core time, but we also know that on certain days, our students are more likely to engage in co-curricular activities after classes. And if the activity is online, Zoom, or hybrid, those all also make a difference to how the engagement occurs. And then we work with campus partners to create targeted activities. And this is something that we're working on in terms of the self-awareness, communication, collaboration area of our co-curriculum requirement. And we communicate this with our student organizations as well. So the information that we've gathered throughout the year will be communicated with our students in the calendar party, which we have it in the summer session of every year. And during the calendar party, this is where students really work together to plan out their calendar for the year of the activities that they will have. And then we, this is where we can ask for student organizations to think about activities in specific areas that were not, we didn't have as many activities in those areas in last semester, to kind of curate those for this upcoming semester for our students. So this is the part I love. So I love when there's a platform that can do certain things, and then you can mold to do the things that, maybe it was not created or intended to do. So we have, like I said, we have about six certificate programs in the PharmD program. And so we have started using the platform for that purpose as well. So for each certificate program, that track and checklist, we've divided into like their didactic, their curriculum, their experiential or their API requirements, and then the co-curriculum. So students in real time can see what the curriculum requirements are. You can set it up, and we've set it up so that they can check off, like, I've taken this class and this class, and I've done this specific rotations, and these are the co-curriculums that I need to do. So instead of a student kind of going back and forth to their email or emailing an advisor about what the requirements for their certification program is, they have it on their track and checklist, and it's accessible to them in real time. You can mold that, you can change that, send reminders through that. So that's something that we're doing. We will, starting this coming fall, we will also use the platform for our SI sessions. And this is really important because we want to understand our retention rates, and we want to better understand, students who are at risk or maybe are struggling. Are they going to SI sessions? Can we assign sessions to them to attend? And this is something that, again, in the beginning when I talked about getting faculty and staff involved, this was something that a staff member in student affairs asked for. So we're able to deliver that for them. And then applications for different programs. So we have workflows set up for different things. So workflows for the actual event approval. So the workflow for that goes through certain people to the associate dean level to get those activities approved. And then they then are on the platform for students to modify certain things. So applications for programs are really important. Our certificate applications are actually on the programs. They are live right now. And so we use the platform to, again, communicate with students with that. And it meets the needs for us, for our faculty, and for our staff. And in meeting features, which I love and our staff love as well. This is great because when a student wants to meet with you, they go back and forth via email a few times, like, does this time and date work for you? Should we do Zoom or in person, et cetera, and all these different things. And we now just have it in our signature line, and students can just book their meetings, and it's connected to our calendar. So this is perfect for us. And we have a new staff member who's in charge of wellness, and she is she's our counselor for our campus, for our students, and she uses the platform to schedule her meetings. So students can directly go to her specific link, which we provide on the feed on our actual page, and they can go to her link, they can schedule meetings, they can specify, she has some questions added of what the meetings are regarding, et cetera. And it's great because you take the time away from going back and forth with the student on Zoom information and providing all that. Student is able to take that autonomy, make their own decisions, schedule a meeting with you. And if they need to cancel, they can cancel that meeting with you. And to me, again, like this was not a feature that we were looking for in a platform, but when we got it, it was like, let's all use it. So it's been a really great feature for us. Yeah, and I think my part of the presentation is over. If you have any questions or thoughts, I'm happy to hear either if you put it in the chat or you want to unmute. Happy to have these discussions with you all.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much, Stella. Quickly, my name's Leo from La Brea, Milton. You use an acronym, SI. I'm sure I have my own for Student Affairs and Student Services, but SI meaning?
I believe it's study sessions. I don't remember the exact acronym, but it's for us. It's for students to take oh, thank you, Edith, for supplemental instruction.
Yes,
yeah.
and I know it as supplemental education, and it's a matter of semantics. So I know precisely what. Yes, thank you. Okay, I get that.
Yeah.
And quickly, you have 3 wonderful categories for your co-curricular. I understand and get leadership and advocacy. You also reference communication and collaboration. Could you briefly, maybe some bullet points about those particular features and how that's fleshed out, if you will, in the collaboration communication piece of co-curricular?
So for co-curricular, the collaboration and communication are activities where students are actively practicing those areas. So there may be activities where we have, let's say, an internship fair, or we have a mock interview sessions with students, or mock LinkedIn profile build-ups. So any one of or legislative days, those could be considered in those specific areas. So when we put the co-curriculars and we divide them up in those areas, we think about what students are supposed to be gaining from those specific activities. And that's information that's shared by student organizations. And it's information that I also actually attend some of those co-curricular activities for them to see if those were the right fit for those specific areas.
Very good. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. You're welcome.
Feel free, if you have any questions for Stella, like she said, the chat, or feel free to unmute yourself and you can ask those live as well. As you're thinking and stewing on your questions, Stella, I have a question for you. One thing that I know, privileged knowledge here from our communication and working together, is that this rollout of the platform and your use of it in this way has obviously gone really well, but particularly with your students. And you've told me some stories about how they have even shared the knowledge and use of the platform amongst each other, where your incoming or first year class of students might be teaching the upper class students how to use the platform. Can you talk a little bit about how students have been receiving it and what they have said as far as the layout of your requirements and what that general feedback has been?
Sure. So so our program is a 4-year program. So the 4th year students are really on rotation. They're not here on campus for the most part, with the exception of the few weeks in the spring semester, they come back for a capstone course. But so they do rotations and et cetera. And so sometimes their rotations are with faculty if they're doing they're on an educational rotation. And we talk about the co-curriculum. We discuss how we now have a new platform and we're utilizing it. So from the 4th year, we get the feedback of, I wish I had this when I was actually doing this, and how could, their interest was could we do this retroactively? Could I put down all of the activities that I did in the last 3 years that are not on here? Could I utilize that platform? Could I utilize it in that way instead of real time, right? So we get that feedback from the 4th year students of I wish I had this before. And then for the 1st and the 2nd year, I think our feedback for the most part has been our 1st year students have really helped the 2nd and 3rd year students on the co-curriculum, on the tracking and asking to be tracked, or asking for students to sign in with their QR codes. The 1st year students are the ones that we have this new platform for. Now they have to utilize it. It's a requirement for them to meet the standards that I listed in the tracks and checklists. So they actively, when they go to events, they're looking for a QR code anywhere and everywhere they can find to scan. And so the 2nd and 3rd year students who may not have been aware of the platform in the beginning, especially in September. Now everyone's aware, but in September when we first started school, they would just be like, I don't know what you're trying to track. I don't know what you're trying to what the actual QR code is. So, but the first year students really educated the second and third year students. And the fact that we had demos throughout the month of September and early October really helped them. So as the semester went on, as the month of September went on, less students showed up for their actual demo sessions, but their engagement and their participation went up. So it was like, well, students are talking and students are spreading the information amongst themselves. So there is not a need for them to meet with me, but there is the schedule is still there. They can still certainly meet to ask questions, but the fact that we've taken that need away and there is just a want, and they are able to actively engage on their own and navigate the platform and share information amongst one another is really great. Another thing is when we have a big event and we need to share some information or things that we've noticed, like, the way that students are completing their post-activity summary, or if they're not completing it on time and asking for exceptions, all of that information we shared on the feed, and we can see that they all see it. One other thing that we asked for our students was to download the Engage SC app, which we have, and to, if they start losing losing space on their phone, that this should not be the app that they delete. It should be something else. So that has also helped us because we have over 80% of our students who are on the app itself. So they're using the platform, they're using the app, and we have asked to have the tracks and checklists on the app. So students can actually just look at the requirements. They don't have to go online to do it. They can just do it from their phone, which is also another convenient part for them. And for us, because when we're having conversation, we can very quickly go back and kind of point out what areas they need to grow or what areas that they need to complete. And as they complete, of course, the meter goes to 100% in each area. So they are well aware. I think our students have learned now to use the app to use the platform for chat purposes as well. So they use that for just to send out a chat to one another or to a staff member asking a question about a specific event.
I love that. You've created like influencer culture amongst your students where they're spreading the word, and, the 98% completion rate is amazing. Like that is such great data for them, of course, to feel proud of, but for you too, of being able to showcase that and really highlight what your students are doing. So I love that. That's amazing. Awesome.
Thank you.
Questions from the group? Anyone have any question they would like to share?
So I have a question for you, just about sort of change management in terms of rolling this out to faculty and staff, and kind of how you got buy-in from like the internally for this new technology on campus and these new processes.
So one thing with our school or School of Pharmacy specifically is that in the PharmD program, we have faculty that are very much willing to try new things and very much willing to do new things as long as, as long as they're being supported, and just like any other person, just like a staff member would. So it's similar to that. So the buy-in with faculty and staff was very similar in sense of that they needed the reinforcement of information in different areas. So it was presented at different meetings. So sometimes people got the same information 2-3 times in a month span because they were in so many different committee meetings. And so that information was really important to get that out there, that initial buy-in. And then the buy-in of there are times that I have set up that I am willing to meet to go over the platform one-on-one, and then to also mold the platform to what the needs of the faculty are for specific things. So we had faculty who, for the post-activity summary for each co-curricular, we had a faculty member who wanted specific questions about that activity because they were looking for specific outcomes as a result. So we molded that post-activity summary. Yes, we included the questions that we normally include, but we also included the questions that they would like also to be included. And that information was then shared with them, which then they kind of got a better understanding of what their students actually did, take away from that activity or the questions that they really wanted to know about. So we molded that in that regards. And same thing with staff. I think with staff, we identified different areas that they would need, that they would want to track certain things, and for the assessment portion and gathering data. Data was really important for everyone, and it still is, right? That drives so many things for institutions. So our student affairs team uses it in a different way. So one thing that we will be using starting the next week or so is we have our incoming cohort of students that have not yet started. It's not the fall semester yet, but we want to provide them sessions, and we want to provide them like introduction to the pharmacy school, to our pharmacy school, specifically our program. And we host those sessions now, and we communicate that with students via email, but now it will be on the platform. So they will be integrated into the platform way sooner than our last year students, which was at orientation. This will help them build earlier integration. And another thing that we use the platform for that I think is very fantastic is the fact that we are able to see who reads emails and who doesn't. It was really, really it's really, really important for us to see if like, are the students reading our emails? Are they getting the emails? Are they clicking on the links? What times are the best times to send emails to students? Again, that data is provided through the platform, so we can kind of understand where our students are. And it helps us understand like, well, yes, everybody did read the email, but not a lot of people attended that specific event, or not everyone read the email for some reason or another. So it's, again, that data then kind of gives us an idea of like what we need to change. We have a Monday mail. So Monday mail is something that's sent through the platform every Monday. And it highlights all of the activities on the platform. So all of the different opportunities that are there. And then it also may provide information about other offices, et cetera. But we can see the percentage of our students who are reading the Monday mail emails that are being sent out to them, and the percentage of students who are actually following through with the links or they're registering for activities. We can see that in real time. And I use also the platform for the purpose of when I send targeted emails to students about, you are at risk of not meeting the co-curricular requirements. I can see that they read the email. They may not have responded, but I know that they read it. And so that kind of changes the conversation when we do meet in person.
I love it. That's great. And I will say, I really like that you've done a great job having the requirements that are, of course, required for students, but also folding in those personal touches with the individualized outreach to students who maybe aren't completing those things, with the access, easy access through the platform to your counseling services. You've really folded in both the required work and the we care about your success as a student holistically aspect into your use of the platform. So that's been really great, because of course it's hard being a student, particularly in a really, great program, but I'm sure challenging at times. So it's great to have both that mix there. Awesome. Well, if there are no other questions for Stella at this time, we will hang out for a few minutes in case anyone wants to maybe ask a question outside of the larger group here. But I will go ahead then and kind of talk about what is happening next. First of all, thank you all so much for attending today. Thank you, Stella, for sharing your insights. We really appreciate it, and it's so great to highlight the awesome work that our campus partners are doing. If anyone on this call wants to highlight their awesome work, please let your campus success consultant know. We would love to feature you in a spotlight in a future session. But thank you all so much for being here.